So you made the decision. This time you're all in. This time it's going to be different. You're fighting hard in the trenches, training your ass off, dieting super hard, suffering to the point of misery, fighting the fight. Man, you are swinging hard shots, haymakers, body shots, head shots. It's a back alley knife fight, but you are all in to the death to do whatever you got to do to make it work this time. And you got some results a little bit there for a while, but you have an image in your head of how you want to look, how you want to feel. And damn it, this time it's going to happen. But despite your absolute best efforts, it's falling short. You've plateaued. The once boundless motivation and energy that you had to fight this battle is subsiding. You feel defeated, confused, maybe a little betrayed. You don't know who to trust. You don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe ready to throw in the towel, but then you being you decide to wind it back up again and give another program a shot, or another trainer, or whatever, another diet. Listen, I've been doing this a long damn time. And if you know anything about me yet, you'll know that I shoot straight. And I just tell you what I think works based on tons of experience working in the trenches with real people just like you. And the overwhelming thing that I see on a very regular and consistent basis, even now, is people are coming to me overtrained and underfed. And the biggest problem within this dilemma is I can't get this deprogrammed. Let's talk about that. All right, everybody, Coach Rob here. And if you're not wildly intrigued after that spectacular introduction from myself, then you've got some real issues, because I thought that was stunning. I thought the timing was good. I thought it was a fantastic opening. That's the way you're going to draw people in right there, people. But seriously, no, I meant every word of it. I mean, and I'm making this video. Honestly, my intention this week, I'm trying to do a video a week for you guys. My intention this week was to do a video on the potential toxic nature of competitive bodybuilding and physique competition, and how there is a better way, I think, for the most part, but some of it will always be toxic, and that's okay. And I was going to kind of wade through that bit of minutia. But I feel very inspired because, you know, a lot of times I get on here and I discuss the things that I'm going through with myself, with others, with, you know, certain individuals who have put their trust and faith as me as a coach or a trainer. So, you know, I think it's important to note that in my experience, this is my 30th year of being a coach and a trainer, which I'm very proud of. One of the main issues that crosses my path on a very regular basis when people say, I embarked on this journey, I'm training, I'm doing the diet, whatever that diet may be, I think I'm crossing all my T's, I think I'm dotting all my I's, I think everything is in place, and I got a little bit of result initially, and now things have completely died off and plateaued and nothing's happening anymore. And I feel exhausted. I feel defeated. So my job at that point is to engage in very pinpoint, extensive discourse with that individual to perhaps uncover what might be the underlying issue, to them continuing to regularly receive the results that they were hoping to accomplish. And this does come in micro doses. We know that. Nothing happens overnight. But generally, when we start to dig and uncover, we start to realize the root of the problem, and it's generally a version of this. Most people are grossly overtrained and severely underfed. Let me give you an example, because I don't want this to go off into a 2-hour video. I got a comment the other day. I will digress for just a moment, if you'll allow me. I did get a comment the other day from someone, and it was pretty hilarious. She said, "Way too much jibber jabber, Rob. Get to the point. This could have been a 10-minute video." Well, you may be right there, but gosh darn it, I know a lot of you out there enjoy my mindless rambling of completely innocuous and incoherent jibber jabber. Let me get back to the topic before someone else jumps in and says the exact same damn thing. So recently, and over the course of history that I've been doing this profession, I see this all the time. And let me preface this by saying the examples that I give, these people who brought this to the table through this investigation process with them, you know, even though I feel for them, and I know it goes so much deeper than just saying do X, Y, or Z, or A, B, and C. These people have to sort through so many issues and deprogram and defragment their hard drives to remove this clutter and put some faith in the process that their coach or their trainer that they have chosen. They need to allow that information to slow drip into their system and tear that apart and give it time and have patience, because this is truly a marathon. It's not a sprint, and it takes time, especially to undo damage that may have accrued over the course of weeks, months, or even years, and in some decades. Here's a scenario. Client comes to me. I see the email come through. I have a new online client. She has enrolled in my gold program, which is everything. Custom training, cardiovascular prescription, custom nutrition, custom macros, everything. 24/7 messaging, unlimited Zoom consult check-ins, the works. They get it all, which is great. And I get this particular client, and we get everything set up on my very cool app, and we start the process, the coach-client relationship. So after gathering some information from the client, and I see what the client's history is, I see that they, may be trying a lower carb diet. Maybe they're trying a hyper carnivore diet. Maybe they saw a couple of my videos and they're applying some of the ideas and techniques that I have described. They're training perhaps, and they come to me wanting direction. Yet, once I've gathered enough intel from this client and then put the time and effort in to create a strength training program that I prescribe for them, it might be 4 days a week, it might be 5 days a week, it might be 3 days a week initially, until we catch a groove and learn some things through the process of kind of kicking the tires, utilizing the style of training that I truly think is going to work best for them. We apply a particular cardiovascular prescription that I think is going to work well based on whatever their goals are. We set some initial macros and a particular caloric ceiling or energy ceiling, if you will. Put everything out there for them to follow. So that way, through meticulous process, we can determine over the course of maybe 4 to 6 weeks if things then need to be adjusted in order to keep things moving in a positive way so they are moving and inching closer to achieving their goals. And this happens a lot. I'll take this example of, this particular person. Once given the 4-day split prescription of my higher intensity, lower volume, strength-oriented hypertrophy program to help really build a base of muscle and to make sure that they're on the right path with that style of program. The proper cardiovascular prescription has been put in place initially, and we have set the prerequisite nutritional numbers for them. And then 1 or 2 days of the first week go by, and then you start to uncover some things. The client might say to me, well, this is way too much food. You have me at X number of calories with this much protein and this much fat and this amount of carbs, and it's just difficult for me to hit that number. Okay, well, I will give some tips on how we might be able to reach or get close to those numbers. And then that particular person has an issue perhaps with the way the training is happening, and then with some more investigation on my part and some uncovering, the particular client, may say, oh, well, you know what? I'm used to training 6 days a week. Is there any way we can add a little bit more to this? Or would it be okay if I threw in, maybe a workout at the local CrossFit on Saturdays where you have me scheduled as a day off? Because I really don't want to miss my training. Or, you know what, I'm doing a Tabata program at the YMCA 3 nights a week, and I want to continue doing that. And then a week or two goes by of this overly excessive level of overtraining. And then in a very short amount of time, you get the inevitable message saying, nothing's happening. I haven't lost any weight. It may have been a week. It may have been 3 weeks. And upon further, deeper investigation, me looking at the information that has been inputted onto the app in terms of their tracking of their food and getting an idea of their eating and nutritional habits and when they eat and how much, and are they reaching their goals? Are they falling short? Are they going over? The bizarre thing about this is oftentimes it's not a matter of them overeating. You would think that would be the case oftentimes. And this is, clearly provided they are giving me accurate information. But what happens more often than not is they are not reaching the level of macros that I prescribe. Oftentimes, not always. But we find that this person, because of the programming that they've received from this this world of over input from so many sources at the palm of your hands, from phones and tablets and computers and influencers and YouTube channels and Instagram fitness models and what everybody's doing. It all becomes a question of how much more can I do, or how much more do I need to do to produce the desired result in the gym and out on the road or on the bike, and how much do I have to reduce in the kitchen before these two worlds collide and I end up looking like a damn supermodel in 3 weeks. Here's the issue, people. Most people are putting out way too much effort in the gym with their workout programs. They're doing 5, 6, 7 days a week of strength training. They might be doing 5, 6, 7 days a week of cardiovascular training. Thinking more is better. Wherever I can fit in more output, then that might be the missing element that I need to get the results. Maybe I never pushed hard enough might be the mentality. Well, let me tell you this. Everything that you do in terms of creating a desired result with not only changing your body composition to keep your body moving forward to enhance its level of muscularity to the greatest degree possible, reducing unwanted body fat to, the greatest degree possible according to whatever your goal is and your performance, to feel great, to perform well, you sleep well, you wake refreshed, you have amazing mental acuity. Every aspect of your life is moving along better and clicking at all cylinders. But oftentimes what we find is the people who are always pushing themselves beyond the brink and adding more training, more sets, more reps. And then they decide, well, I must still be taking in too many calories. So they reduce more, which causes a vicious cycle of restriction and then binging, inevitably. And then they wonder why everything in their system is shutting down and nothing's happening, because the body does not like this level of change. It wants to reach a level of homeostasis, stay balanced, stay normal. It doesn't like massive shakeups. And if it feels like that you are putting out too much in terms of expelling energy through training and through the stresses of life, and you're not fueling yourself and nourishing your body properly to be able to recover and consecutively and consequently grow from the effort that you're putting forth, then you know what it does? As a defense mechanism, it's going to shut down. Chronic dieting, being in an energy deficit for too long, will bring diminishing returns. Oftentimes, being in super long-term ketosis while in an energy deficit will bring diminishing returns. People who are chronically intermittent fasting, chronically doing one meal a day, chronically depriving their bodies of energy, thinking that less is more in the kitchen and more is better in the gym, get confused when their body senses this and thinks to itself from a survival mechanism, as a survival component, it says, we're not getting enough energy to sustain this kind of effort, so we better hang on to what we have to sustain quality life, and we're going to shut everything down. If you've ever seen in a movie, like a war movie, and there might be a submarine going through the water, and then when they detect an enemy ship coming, that submarine, the captain will instruct the crew to turn everything off, to go silent, to conserve and shut everything down. The body's the same way. If you're not getting enough energy and nourishment and good nutrition, and then conversely, constantly putting yourself deep into a hole with way too much training, the body is going to sense this, and as a survival mechanism, it's going to shut shit down. And especially in women. Just from a genetic makeup standpoint, the survival hierarchy of human beings used to be, way back in the day, we only had a few things that we had to check off every day. We only had one small checklist. It was, we had to have water, we had to have warmth and shelter. The goal, the overriding nutritional goal, was to kill an animal and consume it nose to tail for all of our needs. And beyond that, it was procreation, furthering of the species. And then you would rest and have enough downtime to make sure that you could be, you could do all of those things in that survival hierarchy to the greatest level that you possibly could to ensure survival. Women, for child rearing purposes, are built differently. That's why women carry more body fat than men. They need that extra body fat for child rearing purposes and to be able to produce nutrition for infants. So when the body feels like it's putting out way too much, it's exhausted, there's too much cortisol secretion chronically, and through that output, you're not bringing in enough adequate nutrition to fuel those processes, the body will say, we're throwing in the towel, man. We're putting up the white flag. We surrender. Shut everything down. Let's go silent and preserve and hold on to everything, because this person is doing harm, in some cases irreparable harm, to their endocrine system, to their hormonal function and output. It's not just the people who don't exercise, who eat total shit diets, who are falling apart. It's the people that do the opposite end of that and train way too much, way too hard, way too much volume, and then never give themselves ample time to recover and give themselves enough nutrition to be able to handle that level of output. And the body says, we're done, we're out, shut it all down, save fat. Happens all the time. Yet when I tell that client, hey, listen, you need to back off of the output. Your goal with training, in terms of resistance training, training in the gym, whether that gym's at home in a commercial gym or out in a field somewhere, the goal should be to try to produce the greatest amount of intensity that you possibly can in the shortest amount of time. And then leave that muscle alone to compensate, get back to baseline, to where it was when you started that training session, and then enough time to ultimately overcompensate, which that is new muscle growth. But we're so busy overtraining, we'll train some muscles, and then before they have not only compensated and then overcompensated, we attack those muscles again because more is better, doing nothing but short-circuiting the growth mechanism, creating a deeper inroad to recovery. I beat it into clients' heads all the time. What are the three main components of fitness? Training, nutrition, recovery. Everybody leaves out the recovery part, or they don't put equal emphasis to it. You got to put equal emphasis to it. When people say, oh, it's 70% diet and 30% training. Where'd you pull that number out of your ass? Why don't you rather think of it this way? It's 100% training, it's 100% diet, and it's 100% recovery. Meaning, put everything you can into all three of those components, and then you're going to get the best outcome. If you're training 5, 6, 7 days a week, super high intensity all the time for hours at a time, and I'll just go get another walk in, or I'll get another bike ride in, or I'll do the Tabata class, or I'll do this deadlift program, or whatever they're doing, and then eating a scant number of calories or bringing in a scant number of energy, not nearly enough to supply the body with the nourishment, nutrition, and recovery processes in terms of nutrition that your body needs to recover and overcompensate and grow that new tissue and to recover, nothing's ever going to happen. You will hit a wall. That's what the plateau is. And then it's a constant, just vicious cycle of beating your head against a damn concrete wall and then wondering why nothing's happening. Isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result? Yet when I tell somebody, hey, let's only train 3 or 4 days a week, and instead of training an hour and a half, let's train 30 to 40 minutes, but let's put more into that 30 to 40 minutes. And then instead of doing hours and hours of cardio, let's do 35, 40 minutes at a particular heart rate zone that's going to be more conducive to burning body fat and becoming healthier and more conditioned. Maybe we can throw in a 10 or 15 minute high intensity interval session once a week to work that particular energy system, or use that to push a client towards a unique goal that they're pushing toward. An athletic pursuit, perhaps, but then also putting massive, adequate emphasis on the recovery mechanism, making sure that you're having at least a couple of days a week of complete rest, not only, your muscles, but your central nervous system, everything. Let everything chill. Rest, play, recover, emphasize sleep. And then with nutrition, make sure you're getting enough. There are influencers out there, carnivore experts or whatever that will often say, oh, you don't have to count anything. You don't have to track anything. As long as you're eating, an animal-based carnivore diet, you'll never get fat. Well, probably true. But depending on where you're coming from and how metabolically broken you may be, from whatever extreme you're coming from, the undertrained shit diet or the overtrained inadequate diet, there's a level of metabolic dysfunction there that needs to be addressed. So oftentimes it is good for a time to get a really clear snapshot of how much food you're bringing in, how much training output is occurring, what other things might be creeping in that you weren't quite aware might be more detrimental than you think. And then we can put the whole thing together, and then there will be a time where, it would be silly to continue to try to track every damn thing you eat. It's not necessary, but sometimes we have to clean up the mess and get a real clear understanding of what's happening before we can get to that point. We live in the greatest temptation culture of all time. There was a time where all we had to do was strap on our pouch, get our spear, walk out there for a day or two and hope to God you came back with some sort of a dead animal that would feed your family, your tribe, and you would use every part of that animal, head to toe, nose to tail, for all the unique things that animal provides for survival for human beings. Nowadays, that's not the case. I say it a lot. You can't go into freaking Home Depot and buy a fucking screwdriver without being tempted by candy, soda, and chips at the checkout. My wife drags me to this place often. It's hell on earth. It's called Home Goods. You ever been there? When you buy things at Home Goods, clever home decor at reasonable prices, you'll then drag that haul of shit through this amusement park style maze that ultimately gets you to a checkout person. But through that Disney-like Space Mountain maze that you're going through, this maze is lined with tons and tons of absolute exquisite total shit food, tempting you the entire way. This is the world we live in. So to be a freak, saying no to that, even small amounts of it here and there, it can be a challenge. But I digress. Shocker. So you have to understand, and I've said it a million times, it's not about how much or how little, but it's finding the precise amount required. And oftentimes it's not as much as you think in every circumstance. And when it comes with food, if you are nourishing your body with a hypercarnivore diet, lots of animal-based products, meat, eggs, fish, shellfish, things of that nature, eliminating the toxins of the seed oils and the processed food and the fast food and the refined sugars, getting rid of most vegetable matter that can be toxic to the body, whole, unprocessed food, organic varieties, gluten-free, all these good foods. You can take in a considerable greater quantity of those foods and not put on any body fat. Nourish the body, nourish the muscles, nourish your organs, nourish your brain. 2,500 calories from ground beef, salmon, and eggs reacts completely different to the body than 2,500 calories of processed food, seed oils, or fast food. It just does. There's where the calorie argument completely falls apart. I still use calories to get a baseline of what's going to be productive for my client, and then I adjust those numbers as needed for them to be able to adjust their intake to produce the desired result as we heal the body and produce the desired amount of new muscle, the desired amount of body fat reduction, the desired amount of health, vitality, working toward longevity. So we make those adjustments. But let me summarize and bring this all together so I'm not talking too long here and you get the point and you can act on it now. More exercise is not better. Stimulate and let it rest, let it heal, let it grow. I spend 35, 40 minutes in the gym 4 days a week. I'll spend 3 or 4 days a week out walking outside in the fresh air with sun on my skin. The rest of my time, I'm trying to allow for recovery and nourish my body with as much high quality hypercarnivore foods that I can. And I'm at a point now where, yes, I don't really have to track anything. I can just nourish myself until I feel very satisfied and move on, and my body will tell me again when it's time to eat. And then I try to keep that very dynamic and varied. And I never want to be too predictable, as I believe that's probably the way we were back in the day. Our leanest, fittest, most disease-free ancestors, the hunter-gatherer. So back off of the abuse that you're putting yourself through. Do not try to exercise yourself into a deficit. It's the worst thing you could do. Strong in the gym, lean in the kitchen. If you're eating good, nourishing carnivore foods, you can eat until you're satisfied, and ultimately everything's going to level off for you. Your body will figure that shit out. It will start to get rid of excess body fat. It will build and replenish muscle, provided you're not beating the piss out of yourself in the gym or out doing, countless hours of cardio, which is completely unnecessary. I usually hate the word balance, but in this case, you do need to find that balance with not training too much or eating too little, and bring it together to a point where you're nourishing yourself, stimulating growth, but understanding that the stimulation of growth literally takes just minutes. But the compensation and overcompensation, the actual growth itself, may take days. I can pull you into my gym right now and destroy your body through a workout in 15 minutes. Guaranteed. Don't think I can? You'd be wrong. However, it takes considerably longer than 15 minutes to grow it back and then add on new tissue growth, which is the entire goal of training to begin with. So if I destroy your legs on a Wednesday over the course of 30 minutes, you'd be well served to let those legs heal, compensate, nourish them, and let them overcompensate and not train them again for many, many days into the future. The way I do it is generally once a week for just about everybody, because it's the recovery component where the magic happens, provided you bring in enough adequate nutrition to be the mortar and the stimulus for that growth to occur. So, what's one of the biggest problems I run into as a coach over 30 years? People overtraining, doing way too much, vastly undereating, dieting way too long, not nourishing their bodies, not knowing when to take a diet break to bring themselves, reverse diet back to more maintenance intake, if not a slight surplus of nourishing foods. And then over time, once the body adjusts, everything's going to start to come together for you. I have those clients that come to me that are totally broken, and I tell them, I warn them, at first, it may get a little worse before it gets better. But if you're patient and give it time and trust the process, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, everything's going to start to come together and you're going to see all the magic happen. Trust the process. Be patient. Enjoy the journey. That's the key. So I hope that makes sense. Leave a comment. Let me know if you have a question. I have some phenomenal programs that I now offer starting at $19 freaking. So check those out at robgoodwin.com. Trying to get a new video out every single week, so stick around, subscribe, and I assure you there are far more shenanigans on their way, and there probably will be some jibber jabber. That's just who I am. So anyway, train hard, but not too much. Diet harder, and make sure you're getting adequate intake and nourishment. But above all else, do whatever you got to do to recover well and have a spectacular day. I am out.